Good morning. Welcome into Let's Bet It here on Pickswise on this Monday morning. I'm Mark Zeno, joined by Jared Smith as we get you away for week one of the college football season. A big show to do today, along with Major League Baseball, some NFL look-aheads, and a recap of the weekend that was in golf. And Jared, welcome in. Happy Monday to you. Great to be with you as always, brother.
Yeah, we had some college football games over the weekend. It
Yeah.
really wasn't the sexiest slate, but we're off and running. I guess Northwestern being the big surprise of the weekend. Did Scott Frost make it back from Ireland, or did they leave him somewhere in Scotland or London or somewhere in the UK? He's just kind of hanging out right now.
He better have taken a leprechaun with him because he needs luck to hang on to his job at this point in time. Look, if he loses one of the next two games to Georgia Southern and I forget who the other team they're playing, he's done. I saw on the interwebs, on the Twitters, the stat that Scott Frost is now 15-30 at Northwestern. He could win his next 50 games in a row. 50 games in a row and still not have as good a record as Bo Pelini had at Nebraska before they decided to fire him. So there's that. Wow. But those are the kind of great things you can find out on the internet.
That's neither here nor there.
Yeah, right. Along with making sure you guys download our Pickswise app on the Apple Store and Google Play. And don't forget to subscribe to our Pickswise YouTube channel as well. Leave in the comments down there at the bottom. Let us know what games you're on, what you like, what questions you have. We'll try to get to them all before the end of the show. Outside of the frostiness of Scott Frost, it is the hotness from a betting standpoint of Diane Knox-Ballas, who picks another outright winner. We were on the show with her last week, Jared, before the Tour Championship, and she went back to the well with her boy, Rory McIlroy, and he did not disappoint, to say the least. What an incredible day at East Lake.
Yeah. Awesome tournament, awesome golf season. Obviously, a ton of controversy and, hubbub about the LIV, and looks like we've got more defectors, whatever the word you want to use for it. But that's neither here nor there.
People who like money is the right word to use for it.
Sure, whatever word you want to use. I like money too. I wish someone would offer me that much money to just play golf three rounds a week. But so Diane deserves. I don't know what the award would be, but it's certainly something. She had a fantastic season. 6 outright winners that she gave out on the Pickswise shows. Go ahead, watch them. They're all on YouTube, and I think that's where they live, yeah. And the more impressive thing about that is 3 of the outright winners, 2 of them were majors, the other one, the Tour Championship. So the high-profile events, which in my opinion are tougher to handicap, she excelled in this year. So congratulations to Diane. I don't know what the final number is for her PL, but it's high. It's very high. Look, and she deserves a ton of credit.
You know this as well as I do. You get one golf bet right, as far as a pre-tournament guy that you put on at 14-120, you're above 500 from your bankroll standpoint.
The whole season
you really
almost.
have to work hard. Yeah, you have to work hard to blow that bankroll, with a lot of stupidity. And so, from the standpoint that she got 6 right, that is a run I haven't seen in a really long time. Impressive as you give the golf clap to Diane.
And she only started at the Masters. She missed the first, 6 weeks, January, February, late, March. She didn't even start until the Masters. From the Masters on, April on, 4 months, 6 outright winners. Incredible. Really incredible.
I told her jokingly she has to be pregnant every year for the rest of her life now. Because clearly that was the difference. She became with child, she got clairvoyancy along with pregnancy. They go hand in hand.
Maybe it
and
is.
Lo and behold, we have golf winners left and right. All right. So again, congrats to Diane. Thanks. Make sure you guys check her out right here on Pickswise, Pickswise.com, and as Jared said, the Pickswise YouTube channel. Let's get to Major League Baseball. A light card today. On this Monday, not really a really sexy card by any stretch of the imagination, but before we get to Yerpies, Nerpies, and our plays, is the trend your friend Jared? We have 4 of them here. Brewers 0-5 on the run line in their last 5 games against Pittsburgh, the Pirates, who are terrible.
Oh, God. So there's not a lot of intrigue in the Major League Baseball stretch run. The American League Central has some intrigue between Cleveland, Minnesota. The White Sox are kind of out of it. I think there's a little bit of intrigue in the National League East, and I think there's a slight bit of intrigue in the National League Central. The rest of the divisions are pretty much all said and done. Milwaukee is desperate. They are a desperate team. I think they did win the series in Chicago over the weekend, against Chicago over the weekend, which was positive. Corbin Burns is on the mound tonight, and if the Brewers can't win this game with Corbin Burns on the mound against the Pirates, who still are TBD, I don't even know who's starting for the Pirates today, so very hard to bet this game. There's no line. I would say that the trend would be my friend tonight just because of desperation. But I'm assuming it's going to be another minus 200 chalk fest. And we'll get to it in a minute, just how poorly those teams have done this season, those heavy favorites. So trend-wise, tough to back it. Overall, big picture, tough to back it. But desperation says the Brewers have to win. So pass for me, I guess, here. I'm talking myself into a paper bag.
Yankees are 2-8 on the run line in their last 10 road games as they head to Anaheim tonight to face the Angels.
Yeah, this line's moved against New York. Jose Suarez, the lefty, on the mound for the Angels tonight. Frankie Montas, and I think that's probably why the line has moved against the Yankees, if I had to guess. Frankie Montas, former A's pitcher. Yeah, A's pitcher has obviously played and pitched a ton against this Angels lineup. His numbers are okay against the Angels in his career. Jose Suarez has decent numbers against the Yankees. Again, it goes back to just juice. Like, the juice has not been worth the squeeze with baseball favorites this year. So I would back this trend because that's been the whole vibe of baseball season, is the underdog on the run line has been very profitable.
Giants 2-8 on the money line. In their last 10 games, they host the Padres.
Interesting pitching matchup here. Rodon, Clevenger. I would argue these are, two of the better pitchers in baseball. Definitely two of the best pitchers on their respective staffs. Rodon's numbers are good against the Padres, who have struggled since the Tatis news. Clevenger hasn't really faced the Giants too much. Of course, he was in the AL for a number of years. Hasn't really pitched much with San Diego because of injury. I would back the trend here. I would say Padres money line because the Giants have been a fade. They just dropped, I think, 3 in a row in Minnesota. They are a sub 500 team. Our win total unders looking good. I would say Padres money line based on the trend alone because the pitching matchup, I think, is a little bit of a wash.
And then finally, Twins 0-6 on the run line in their last 6 games as favorites versus Boston.
Yeah, tough to back the Twins as a favorite. We'll get to the Twins nerfy-yerfy bet in a little bit. Bundy today, our boy Dylan Bundy. He's got okay numbers against the Red Sox, but the rub, as you would say here, sir, is Brian Bello, who is a gas can for the Red Sox. So very, very tough to bet the Red Sox with Brian Bello on the mound. So I would either pass here or I would fade this trend because I just can't back Brian Bello.
All right, let's move on to Yerfy Nerfy and our picks for the day. Jared, I will tee it up to you to get us started here.
Yeah, I don't really have much today, to be honest with you. I wish I did. So Nerfy 9-6 yesterday, up 45 units since July 1st. That's been the vibe of the second half. We've discussed it at length. The dog days of summer. Some of these pitchers come out and they know that their outings are short and they just gas. And the Nerfy's been a very profitable trend if you've just been backing it blindly every day. I don't recommend doing that, of course, but some people just like betting every Nerfy because they like it. Good for you. I will say this. When you're looking at favorites in Major League Baseball, we talked about it several times. I've written columns about it. If it's a minus 200 or longer favorite, odds are if you bet those every night, if you parlay those together to try to lessen the juice, you are going to lose in the long term. So those favorites that are minus 200 or longer in Major League Baseball this season, 333 and 157. It sounds good on paper, 68%, but $100 bettors are down nearly $2,000 this year because the juice just over time will erode your bankroll. So be careful when you're betting those big favorites. There are 3 of them on the board today currently. There might be a 4th once that Brewers line gets posted. Cardinals, Dodgers, Blue Jays, all laying $2 or more. So just keep that in mind down the stretch. There are going to be, I would estimate, half of the games on any given night, because of one team has everything to play for against another crap team with nothing to play for, are going to be around minus 200 every night. So just be weary of that when you look at the lines, and try to pivot away from those spots or be creative with how you bet them, because over time, the VIG will erode your bankroll down to shreds, to dust, to nothing. That's all I got for you for now.
All right. Well, there are a couple of nerfies out there that I had my eye on. One will be my play of the day, but the other one here is just a pure pitching matchup and why it's juiced as high as it is. Dodgers and Marlins, rather, not Rockies. You get Tony Gonsolin on the mound against Pablo Lopez. I knew it wasn't Sanchez, but that was the name that was in my mind.
Not Pablo Escobar, that's for sure.
Yeah, that one too. I knew it was Latin. Anyway, Gonsolin and Lopez, these are two great nerfy pitchers. The Marlins are not a great first-inning run score percentage team. However, the Dodgers are. But with Lopez on the mound, you're figuring it should counter a little bit. It's a wraparound weekend series, which is a little bit weird when you get the usually Mondays, an off day if you're not playing after a Sunday getaway day. That said, this is a spot here where I wouldn't mind paying the juice. The track record on both of these guys is pretty substantial as far as being good with the nerfies. So Gonsolin and Lopez, I mean, I see it at minus 150 on FanDuel. You saw it at minus 140 over at DraftKings. So shop around for the best number you can. But I think we're both in line with that nerfy.
I like it. I'll give you the exact numbers if you want. Gonsolin, hold on, let me get my sheet. 21-2 to the nerfy this year, 42-8 since 2019. I mean, that's substantial.
Pretty good.
That is a big sample size. Lopez not as strong this year. He's been, I would say, average to slightly below average. That would be the side of this nerfy I'd be concerned with. Top of the first inning, Dodgers against Pablo Lopez. But yeah, no, I can't argue this. I'm probably going to tell you. I got minus 140. I'll probably throw a little shekel on this one.
A shekel down up, yeah. The only other baseball thing that interested, the only other thing that from the baseball standpoint that interested me today, Yankees and Angels. You're getting a depressed total here of over 8. Look, you got a Yankees pitching staff that isn't great, and their bullpen is in shambles right now. Going up against an Angels lineup that hasn't been scoring a ton of runs. However, they did average 7 runs in their weekend sweep over the Blue Jays in Toronto. So maybe that continues a little bit. If you're worried about the Yankees not doing their part here for even minus 110 at 8, and again, full disclosure, I haven't gotten a window on this yet. I'm going to wait a little bit longer to see what happens. I would rather pay minus 120 juice than go to 8.5 in this, if that makes sense, right? Like I'm willing to assume the juice risk at 8, not the extra half run at minus 110. So I think it's just a better bankroll management play that way to have to score 9, because I think it could end up being a 5-3 game when it's all said and done if the Yankees don't score like I think they could do. You got 2 starters in this game who are not very good. We talked about Frankie Montas, who's been a dumpster fire since coming to the Yankees. He's given up 6 earned runs, 2 earned runs, 6 earned runs, 2 earned runs in his 4 starts. So it hasn't been very good. And you mentioned as well going for the Angels tonight, Jose Suarez. He's got a 1.35 whip. There are going to be Yankee runners on base at some point in time tonight. Just a question of whether they can actually push him across.
Yeah.
But if the Yankees sort of thing bothers you on that end, the Angels team total, Jared, is only 3. And it's minus 124 at 3. Like I said, Montez is average giving up 3 runs more than that in his time, 3 earned runs more than in his time in a Yankee uniform. And even if he only gives up 2 like he did in 2 of his starts, the Yankees bullpen is bad enough these days to be able to give up 1 more. So you're getting a really low number. Even though it's a little bit juiced more than what you'd like to see, still, minus 124, not a terrible number. And that may be the way I go. But I'd likely see a correlation. If the line goes up to 8.5, I would assume that the Angels' run line goes up to 8.5 because it's not going to come from the Yankees side, at least not predictably as of late.
Did you see why Chapman is on the IL for the Yankees?
Yeah, he's got a tattoo infection.
You can't make this stuff up. Like, come on.
No.
Why is he getting a tattoo in the middle of the season? Why is a professional baseball player sticking needles in, I don't think it's leg or wherever it was, in the middle of a baseball season? That just makes no sense to me.
It's so very 2022 Yankees of us. I can't wait.
I don't even have any words for it.
Let's turn our attention. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it anymore. It only upsets me and gives me
neither
agita.
do I.
Let's turn our attention to the NFL and welcome in Justin Henry to the show, NFL analyst, as he's going to join us as we look at some big picture questions that are burning now that the preseason is over. Justin, welcome. Thanks for being here, brother. Appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys having me on, man. Excited to talk NFL. No more preseason. We're ready to get on to the big games, baby.
Thank God.
Let's do it, baby.
I made one preseason bet on the Hall of Fame game, cashed it, and didn't touch it since. So that's called discipline for you.
That is discipline, Mark. That's impressive, actually. I'm
smart
impressed
enough
by
to get in and get out and not do anything else. So there's that. All right, let's start here at the top. We have teams that are going to progress and regress this year, Justin. There are a couple teams that I have in mind for regression, but who is the team you're looking at this year that's going to take a step in the wrong direction?
You know, and this team actually took a step in the right direction last year. They got rid of Tom Brady, and then Mac Jones came in and played really well. The New England Patriots, to me, are probably going to take a step back. We saw them lose Josh McDaniels in the offseason, went to the Raiders, and now we've seen them really struggle this offseason, this training camp. Mac Jones doesn't look like he did as a rookie, and so this sophomore slump might be a real thing with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge in there trying to man this offense now. So to me, even losing some key pieces on defense, J.C. Jackson went to the Chargers. They also lost Shaq Mason for the offensive line. It's like some of that Patriots allure that used to be there just isn't there this season. So when I look at the Patriots overall, they've added some new pieces, but it doesn't feel like we see the same team in that division. For what it's worth, that division has gotten a lot better. Obviously, the Bills are the cream of the crop there, but the Dolphins improved, obviously getting Tyreek Hill. They're looking to take the next step up with Mike McDaniel as the new head coach. And then the Jets have added a lot of pieces as well, and they're kind of trying to push the pace there in the back of that division. So I could see the Patriots struggling, especially they have an 8.5 game win total. I'm not even sure they hit that.
Wow. Yeah, the Bill Belichick getting Matt Patricia and Joe Judge to run the offense is akin to getting a plumber and a carpenter to go fix your broken light switch in the electrical outlet.
Like the Three Stooges.
You've asked the wrong people to do the job. That's neither here nor there, but I agree with you. This is not a team that's going to make the playoffs this year. So I'm with you. Now, people may tell me I'm crazy on my two teams I think are going to regress, but one of them is on the hat that you are donning in the Bengals, and the other one is the Chargers. Look, I've said it repeatedly about the Bengals, and make of this what you will. That team had no business being in the Super Bowl last year. They shouldn't have beat the Raiders in the postseason. They shouldn't have beat the Titans in the game. They gave up 9 sacks, and the idiot kicker for the Titans missed 3 field goals. And they got Patrick Mahomes had the worst game he ever had in the playoffs to get to the Super Bowl. Like, they're a little bit ahead of schedule as far as getting to where they should have been, but they're not a Super Bowl caliber team yet. And the offensive line, they addressed it, but to say they fixed it is a far stretch. So I don't think I still think they'll probably make the playoffs at 10-7, but I don't think they win that division. I don't think they're anywhere close to getting back to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. You know, it's one of those things where I think they got really hot towards the end of last year. We saw the way that they were really playing with confidence, and they had that motto going, like, why wouldn't it be us type of motto that the Bengals had going towards last year. And things just worked out. And when you look at the AFC, it's so top heavy. Like, there's a lot of good teams in the AFC. It really is about who gets hot at the right time and when things start clicking. I think it was just a combination of the Ravens not being as good as they typically are in that division. The Steelers weren't as good as they typically were in that division. And then they caught, like you said, in the playoffs, they just kind of caught fire and had a little bit of luck on their side. And in the playoffs, in order to get to the Super Bowl, you need a little bit of luck on your side.
Sure. The other team that I think is going to regress, although they haven't really progressed, and that's the Chargers. Like, I get we're all in love with Justin Herbert, and he's probably going to have a phenomenal year. But they haven't made the playoffs. Like, so I don't really know why we're all excited about the Chargers winning the Super Bowl when they have yet to actually make a playoff game and win it. Most of that's because their head coach is a putz who decided that his ego was more important than getting to the postseason last year in the final game of the regular season. But the Chargers are going to charge you, man. It just feels that way always.
You know, when I look at the Chargers, I look at a team that's massively improved. Now, what I don't see is the Super Bowl expectations. I agree with you there, but bringing in Khalil Mack, bringing in J.C. Jackson, those are some major additions to a defense that wasn't bad. It just needed some fillers. And so to me, I'm not necessarily saying this is a team that will regress because they almost made the playoffs. They didn't even make it last year. But I do think that this team will elevate, get into the playoffs, have a chance. I'm just not sure if they're as good as everybody wants them to be. Super Bowl champions, Herbert MVP. Yeah. I don't necessarily see all that.
Jared, where are you going?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. I especially the Pats, and I think keep an eye on that line week 1 against the Dolphins. You've got 2 weeks basically until that game is played. It's 2.5 now. I would be willing to bet Miami gets to -3, firm -3, leading up to that week. That actually might be I already made a bet on the Bucks Cowboys under. That might be my second NFL bet at some point this week on Dolphins -2.5. So I'm with Justin there. I think the Bucks have like nowhere to go but down. I mean, they've had 2 great seasons with Tom Brady. One of them was a Super Bowl season. They've been a high seed in each of their first 2 years with Tom at the helm. I don't really know I don't love fading Tom Brady, of course. I mean, the guy is like bionic at this point at the age, doing it at the level that he's doing it at. But I just don't like the vibe that took place this offseason in Tampa. The coaching switch. I don't know if I fully trust Todd Bowles. I know Tom Brady is basically the de facto offensive coordinator, and Todd's just going to run the defense. But I feel like this is a team that has some regression potential, because if Tom Brady ever does finally play like his age, it's going to deteriorate and spiral downward very quickly. I'm not saying that's going to happen fully, and it's going to be like a Ben Roethlisberger situation last year, but the expectations are high for this team with a win total at 11.5, and I could see that staying under the win total this season. I haven't bet that because I just can't get to the window fading Tom Brady. But if you're going to ask me a team that I think might look a little bit different than it did the first 2 years with Tom, I think the Bucks might be. And listen, New Orleans is a little better in that division. We'll see what Carolina has with Baker Mayfield. I don't expect Atlanta to take too many steps forward this year, but I think New Orleans might be a team that challenges in the South. And listen, again, Tom's 45. So at some point Father Time's going to win this battle at some point. We'll see if it's this year.
Theoretically. From teams that are going backwards to teams that'll take a step forward in 2022. Justin, who do you like?
Well, you kind of alluded to it there. It's, the Bucks to me are not a team that has everything all dialed in. They've lost some key pieces on the offensive line, and they've also, had the coaching changes. So I look at another team in that division, the New Orleans Saints, who seems to be getting things all together. Now, Dennis Allen's their coach. They know Jameis has had a full offseason. They're not doing a debate on who's going to be quarterback, whether it's him or Taysom Hill. The defense was already good and added Tyrann Mathieu. So they're going to make some strides. They're going to be one of the top defensive units in the NFL. And then I look at the offense, right? We give Jameis a full offseason. Hopefully he's fully recovered. He looked really good in the preseason, fully recovered from that injury last year. And then we also look at him having a full chance to be the starter with new weapons, Chris Olave that they drafted in the first round, bringing in a veteran in Jarvis Landry, and then hopefully Michael Thomas is ready to go week 1 as well. You could be looking at a team that has a chance, like you mentioned, to take that division, and their win total sitting at 8.5 right now. To me, that's really low for a very capable Saints team whose schedule isn't the hardest. We take a look at their schedule. They have a chance to go 10, 11 wins on the season. So to me, I like the Saints for their upside this season.
Yeah, well, they're going to need the defense because they're going to get a lot of extra time on the field after Jameis continues to throw picks at an insane rate. There's that.
Well, he looked real good last year, and in the first 7 games last year, the Saints were 6-1, and Jameis had a 14-3 touchdown interception ratio. And so when I look at it, it feels like he's trying to change that image that he had in Tampa, where it was Mr. 30 for 30.
The only counter I would give you, Justin, is Sean Payton was the schemer and the play caller. Dennis Allen may be good. He ain't Sean Payton, because nobody else is. That is literally the best schemer and play caller.
I don't think Dennis Allen is going to be the reason why the Saints don't have success this year. Dennis Allen is not going to be what holds back the Saints this year, I don't think. He's been in that system a long time. I have faith in Dennis Allen.
The weapons have to be better than they were last year with Traquan Swift, Marquez Callaway. When you look at the upgrades,
you're right.
And James performed pretty decently last year. So even if maybe Sean Payton's not the coordinator, I think Winston's going to be set up for success this year. Maybe he's not 14-3 TD interception ratio good, but he'll be a lot better than Mr. 30 for 30 that he used to be.
I will have to believe it when I see it. I'll wait. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I can't put any money behind.
How about Jarvis Landry too? I could see Jarvis Landry having an impact in that offense. I can. I mean, he's a guy that's been held back by Baker Mayfield for years. So I could see Jarvis being an interesting threat.
Yeah, he looked good. He looked good in the preseason.
For the record, the Saints aren't covering Week 1 in Atlanta, so just take it that what you will. So it's going to be a close game. That's neither here nor there. Let's go to the team I think is going to take a huge step forward. And right now, I'll write it down because as soon as I get to New York this weekend, on one of those apps that allows me to bet there in New York, Vikings winning the NFC North. It's happening. Write it down. This is a team right now that has everything right in front of them, and one of the most criminally underrated quarterbacks in recent memory in Kirk Cousins will have another incredible year. They have an offense that is all world and should be top 5 in the league this year. And hopefully they fix the defense. They had Darius Smith. They've got some pass rush potential. The back end still is a little bit shaky, but the Packers are ready to fall apart, and the Vikings will be there to pick up the pieces and win the NFC North.
I love that. I've been on the Vikings card, so great pick.
Every year we want to write off. Oh.
Yeah, we do. We want to write off Kirk Cousins.
Go ahead, Justin. Give me your take on Minnesota because I'm fascinated with them this year.
Every year we want to write off Green Bay. And to me, I feel like, losing Devontae Adams and just some of these weapons around the Packers, it's like every year we do the same thing. And every year Aaron Rodgers proves us wrong. He goes and wins MVP last year. I do like the setup with the Vikings, though. I think they will make a major push. But we continue to write off Aaron Rodgers in this mysterious way. He just signed a 3-year deal. I think that they can at least still perform. But I'm not mad at the sprinkle at all. If you go on and you put something on the Vikings, to be honest, because I think that the odds are better than, obviously you're not going to go with the Packers. But to me, I think the Packers, we can't just write off Aaron Rodgers and the Packers that easily.
No, again, it's not another real possibility for the Packers to win 12 games and the Vikings to win 13. I mean, that's not a bad year for Aaron Rodgers nor the Packers. Just the Vikings have the potential to be that good, in my opinion. Jared, you're going to the AFC East for yours.
Yeah, and I'll echo the Vikings because I do have an interesting strategy with them. So the one thing I like about the sports books these days is they give you in-season win totals, which I think is a fascinating bet. So week 1, speaking of the Packers, is Vikings-Packers. I would, if you really like the Vikings win total, instead of laying however many cents to bet over 8.5 or even a flat 9, just bet the money line week 1. If you win, great. You just won an underdog money line week 1. Congratulations. If you lose, if the Packers win that game, you're probably going to get a much better in-season win total on Minnesota. And let's be honest, losing a game to the Packers in week 1 shouldn't change your perception on Minnesota having a good season and going over their original win total. So just an interesting strategy there if you're interested in Minnesota, and I am. I that's probably how I'm going to play it, actually, with the Vikings. I think the Dolphins are a buy low. I'm going all Florida teams for my buy low, sell high. But I think Tua is serviceable, and I think we're actually going to see a version of Tua that we've probably never seen before this year because he does have a really smart head coach who is going to pull the strings for him, and he's got a ton of weapons, probably the best, other than maybe when he was at Alabama, the best supporting cast he's ever played with. And I like the defense in Miami too, and I think this AFC East with New England down, the Jets are the Jets, Buffalo is good, but they might be a hair overvalued because right now they're the favorite to win the Super Bowl, and I don't know if that is a fair price or not. I think they're the best team, but, again, they have nowhere to go but down. So if you want to talk about a team that I think can over-exceed maybe where the numbers are stated on them, I think Miami is an interesting candidate because I'm very fascinated to see what Mike McDaniel can do, and I'm really interested to see how Tua performs with these weapons. And I have zero questions about the defense, which has been phenomenal for years and I think is going to be good again this season.
All right. Any rookies you have your eye on that could make an impact, Justin?
Yes. And so when I look at the rookie class, the rookie wide receiver class was amazing last year. It's going to be amazing this year too. I just don't think it's at the level of last year. But when I look at Chris Olave in New Orleans, I talked about how I think they're going to be a better team. To me, he comes in very polished and ready to go and playing with a really good quarterback as well. I know maybe there might be some interceptions there, but there's also going to be a lot of touchdowns and a lot of yards when it comes to Jameis Winston. And with Michael Thomas being a little bit slow to kind of get up to speed, I do think Chris Olave has the makings for a really good season. I don't see 1,500 yards, 1,400 yards, but I do see potentially somewhere in that 800 to 1,000 range when it comes to yardage for Chris Olave, probably about 5 touchdowns. So to me, he's going to have a really good season. I like some of the other rookies there. But for me, he seems to have the most instant impact this season, not necessarily career-wise, but this season, I can see him having a really big impact for that Saints team.
I mean, one guy I think I've got my eye on, and it's on the defensive side of the ball, honestly, is Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, if you look at the Lions' schedule this year, he's not going up a bunch of great offensive lines. He gets the Bears twice a year. He's got Seattle. He's got New England. He's got the Jets. He's got Carolina. Like, he's got the Giants. This is a young man here who, in his rookie campaign, could impress with a bunch of sacks. And granted, he's a second overall pick, but still, it sets up well for him. It's not like he's playing a whole bunch of all-pro left tackles every single week that he's got to go against and learn the hard way. He's going to have some success against some of these mediocre offensive lines he's going up against.
Mm. Yeah, I love it. He's awesome on Hard Knocks, too.
I didn't watch a single second of it, to be honest with you.
I didn't watch Hard Knocks either, Justin. What was he like on Hard Knocks?
Not either.
All I know is I saw him doing the Billie Jean stuff on Twitter. I saw the
he's
going down. He was doing the singing. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was it. I did see that as well. But Jared, who do you got?
Yeah, so the question was phrased in, is there a rookie that could have a Jamar Chase level impact? And the way that I took that as Jamar Chase played in the Super Bowl last year. So is there a rookie on a team that can go to the Super Bowl and have an impact like Jamar Chase throughout the regular season and be on a team that can, be in the playoffs, maybe get a first round bye, maybe play in the Super Bowl? And I keep looking at this Chiefs roster without Tyreek Hill, and I keep thinking to myself, if Peyton Manning can make Brandon Stokely look like the best receiver on the planet, why can't Patrick Mahomes make Sky Moore look as good as he did in college playing against, I know, lesser competition? But again, this is a guy that popped to me in the preseason, and he, in my opinion, is playing with the most versatile and explosive quarterback in the NFL with how he can create on the move, the arm angles, and the creativity of Andy Reid, I think, is fascinating too, how he puts Sky Moore as a queen on the chessboard, moving him around in different spots like they did with Tyreek Hill. So do I think Sky Moore is the most physically gifted rookie in the class? No. Does he have the most upside based off of the team and the offense he plays in? I think you can make an argument there. So I think Sky Moore's a guy, the sky's the limit. And I would be very interested to see how he's deployed by Andy Reid and the Chiefs this season and just how he kind of progresses in his rookie campaign.
All right, Justin, on to players who are underwhelmed this year. You have your eye on somebody?
Yeah, when I take a look at some of the impactful rookies, nobody mentioned George Pickens, which I'm surprised because he's been tearing it up this training camp, this preseason. He's been making a name for himself. But when I look at that team, the Steelers team, that's a crowded wide receiver room when you're talking about Deontay Johnson and his performance last year. He was viewed as one of the top, 15, 20 receivers in the league last year. But I could see him having a little bit of a letdown this season with the quarterback change. Now, some people call this an upgrade because Ben obviously wasn't the same caliber Ben last year. But when I look at Mitch Trubisky, he's also not going to force feed Deontay Johnson as much as he was last year. So I think the Steelers paid him $18 million a year, which is kind of in line with more of the high-end wide receiver 2, back-end wide receiver 1s. And to me, that's about where he's going to slot because George Pickens is on his way. Claypool wants to get paid at some point. The offense goes through Najee Harris. Pat Freiermuth is looking to become one of the better tight ends in the league. To me, I just don't see the same Steelers impact for Deontay Johnson this year. I think he's a good receiver, but not at the elite level that he performed last year. He's going to take a step back this season.
And for the same reason you talked about the Patriots taking a step back, I picked Mac Jones. This is not the best quarterback drafted in that class, despite the way he played last year. Not a knock on the young man, to say the least, but this may be a sophomore slump and some real growing pains going on, especially when you have former defensive coordinator and a former special teams coach telling you what to do. That could be a little bit confusing for the young man, to say the least. So beyond all that, I think that Mac Jones and a lack of weapons is going to struggle. Plus, they're going to be a very run-first heavy team. The Patriots are. And I think that, will limit his production a good amount.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I agree there.
Jared, who you got?
So this was a tough one for me because I think there's a lot of players that are going to underperform this year. Again, on average, 75% of season-long player props stay under. Keep that in mind before you just bet all your overs before the NFL season starts. But I think Aaron Rodgers is due for a letdown season. I mean, everything this guy has done over the last 3 years has been, it's been great. They were the number 1 seed in the NFC, I think 2 years in a row. He's won like 30 games in that stretch. He was the MVP last year. There's nowhere to go but down after you lose the kind of production that he lost. Now, I'm not saying that Aaron Rodgers is going to be a sub 500, the Packers are going to be under 500, miss the playoffs. That's not where I'm going here. But I think there has to be a natural step back when the talent around you is vastly different and everything else around you is changing. The one thing that I'm always fascinated with in the NFL, and I always look at before I bet anything season long or even early in the season, is the continuity at the battery positions, the up the middle, out wide, those skill spots, and then, of course, offensive coordinator and wide receiver. And it's a lot of changes for Aaron. And I know the new deal, and I know that expectations are still high because he's Aaron Rodgers, but I feel like there is going to be a natural step back just because of the situation. So I'm not saying that he's going to go completely off the rails, but I don't think he's going to win another MVP this year, and I don't think the Packers are going to be the number 1 seed in the NFC. So just based off of those two things, yes, we are going to see some step back with Aaron Rodgers this season.
All right, players who will exceed expectations. And Justin and Jared, you guys are on the same page with this one. Justin, what do you have?
Yeah, I really like Trevor Lawrence to take that next step up this year, bringing in Doug Peterson, and obviously the weapons that they provided him, they're not super exciting, but when you talk about Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, just some veterans, some guys that have some skin in the game and can help him out. And then obviously the return of Travis Etienne as well. To me, it just seems like Trevor Lawrence can actually have a really good impact this year, and he's flying a little bit under the radar. He doesn't have the same expectations as a guy like Trey Lance, who's coming in and everybody's saying, you know what, he's going to be future MVP candidate. And Trevor Lawrence was the number 1 pick. He was picked ahead of Trey Lance. So I think there's some room for second-year growth here. And with this team, it's not like the division is super tough outside of the Colts, who are probably the favorite in that division. The Titans and the Texans. I think there's a lot of real room for improvement here with Trevor Lawrence. Got some help on the offensive line with Brandon Sheriff coming to town. So to me, I can see Trevor Lawrence taking that next step this season.
I agree.
Jared, you want to get on?
Yeah, so I think the way that I would play this from a betting perspective, it's tough to bet the Jaguars win total. We talked about it with Lauren. I know she's on it. But they have to win like double what they won last year in order to hit the win total. I think that's a tough ask, but I agree that there is a renewed sense of confidence in Jacksonville. And listen, the biggest thing, the weapons matter, but the biggest thing is you go from Urban Meyer to Doug Peterson. You go from a guy that clearly could care less about the progression of a team long-term to a coach that has arguably been the responsible factor for the most improbable Super Bowl run in recent memory with the Eagles. So I think there's a lot of reason for confidence. And if you bet his season-long prop to the under on interceptions, I think you're getting a good number here at 14.5. So the thing that stood out to me when I was doing my research on the Jaguars this year, last year they faced the 3rd toughest schedule of defenses. This year they faced the 2nd easiest, at least according to the preseason projections. And, Justin mentioned the weapons that Trevor will have at his disposal. And then you talk about his year last season, 17 picks in a statistical category that can be a little fluky, tip passes, bad reads, inconsistent route running. I think that number is going to regress. And I think you're telling me that he can throw 14 interceptions, which is a very high total for any quarterback, and I still win this bet. I feel like we're going to see a positive step with the efficiency of Trevor Lawrence in year 2 in a better system with a really good offensive line. Brandon Sheriff comes in and solidifies what's already a pretty decent unit. And, of course, the weapons and Doug Peterson and the easier schedule of defenses. Again, the Jaguars win total and some of the other, ways to play their full team might not be the way to go. But if you're targeting Trevor Lawrence and you're isolating him, under 14.5 interceptions feels like a very fair bet to make.
Guys, he had nowhere to go but up. If he goes down, the word bust then goes next to his name. So while I don't disagree, he had nowhere to go but up. Now let's look at a guy who actually did something last year of value, and a guy that's going to take an even bigger step this year, who to this point is the best quarterback drafted in last year's class, and that's Davis Mills of the Houston Texans. I expect him to really turn it on this year and prove that he is a consistent starter in this league. I have concerns about Lovie Smith and running the offense, or at least having a stamp on the offensive philosophy. But that said, the Davis Mills Brandon Cooks connection will be real. Cooks is going to go over his yards prop this year, and Mills is going to be a guy that is going to surprise a lot of people and make the Texans surprisingly competitive in games that you don't think they should. We saw a little bit of that at the end of last year. I think they build on that this year in Houston, and Mills has a very solid campaign going forward. Because at the end of the year, people were possibly talking about the name Davis Mills as one of the better quarterbacks drafted in that class, despite how many went in the first round and where they all went in the first round. So I like Davis Mills. I'm kind of high on him in the Texans this year to surprise some teams. So that is my player to exceed expectations this year. Final thoughts, Justin, as we get ready to send you on your way here.
You know, I'm just excited for this NFL season. I think we're in store for a great season. A lot of great teams, a lot of great players, and we saw some exciting stuff happen this preseason. So if the preseason's any indication, I feel like we're going to have a really good NFL season. I'm excited to just see what happens this year. Football's back, baby. That's what I love.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Great job,
right.
Justin.
Thanks, Justin. Again, follow him on Twitter at, let me get the actual Twitter account here. Why do I not have it? Where is it? It's on the rundown somewhere.
Justin Henry with a 3 instead of an E. And
you got it.
That's what it was.
Got it.
By the way, some breaking news.
Appreciate you guys having me on.
As we transition out here, how about Sauce Gardner inking with Buffalo Wild Wings? Sauce's sauce. That was like inevitable, right?
You knew
guys?
that was coming. Yeah.
You knew that.
You saw the chain on draft day. He had the hot sauce ready to go on draft day, so you can't be mad at it.
Got that drip. Let's go, Justin. Let's do it. Go Jets. Come on.
Appreciate you guys.
All right. Thanks, Justin. We appreciate it. You guys have a great day. Justin Henry again, NFL analyst, joining us here on Let's Bet It. All right. Let's turn our attention to the Pickswise.com website before we get to our plays of the day. Jared, 3-star plays out on the site today. What do we have?
Yeah, we got a little bit brewing here. So nothing baseball related. That shouldn't surprise you. But we're going to get to our buddy Ricky Diamond's Yurfie Nerfy picks in just a minute, because we're both tailing his bets today, and I think they're fantastic bets. But he does also have some U.S. Open futures currently on the site. The U.S. Open is underway at Flushing Meadows. Sadly, I'm not going this year. Obviously, I'm in Vegas. I've been the last 2 years. But take a look, because, listen, Ricky does a great job with his tennis picks for the site. He's been doing it for quite some time, one of the more gifted tennis bettors out there. And I would absolutely be sprinkling on Ricky's 3 stars on the U.S. Open. So I won't give it away, but that's what's on the site right now currently for 3-star plays.
Well, we will give away our plays of the day, which are yoked with the website as well. So, Jared, I will tee it up here and then let you follow. Sure. I'm going to do a Nerfy here between San Diego and San Francisco. You got a great Nerfy starter on the mound for the Giants and Carlos Rodon. I've been on his Nerfy every single time he gets on the mound every 5 days, and he doesn't disappoint. One of the best Nerfy pitchers in Major League Baseball this year. Mike Clevenger going for the San Diego Padres, one of the better starters on their staff. 13-2 to the Nerfy this year. Top it all off, these two teams in the bottom of the league in first inning run score percentage. San Diego 24th overall and San Francisco 26th. It's juicy in the minus 142 range number. Shop around, see if you can find a better one. But I'm willing to risk the juice with both Rodon and Clevenger on the mound here on a San Diego-San Francisco Nerfy. Jared, what do you got?
Yeah, it's definitely on the sheet today, Pop and Nerfy. So I can't argue that pick. We mentioned Rodon's been fantastic this year. Clevenger, limited time, but still pretty good. So can't argue that pick at all. And I think I like this other one too. Again, Ricky's got both of these written up for the site, but we're both kind of piggybacking on these today. Yurfie action. I don't bet a ton of Yurfies, not lately, but this one really popped. Between the Twins and the Red Sox, this game is at Target Field later tonight. Brian Bello starting for the Red Sox. We mentioned him during the trend segment. 4 starts this season. He has allowed a first inning run in 3 of them. You don't have to be a math major to know that's a 75% Yurfie rate with a 421 batting average and 2.75 whip in the first inning. Yikes. Dylan Bundy has been average, I would say, 17-5 Nerfy this year. Maybe that's a little bit above average at 77%. But if you expand the sample size to 2019, that rate drops to 68%, which is below average for what a major league pitcher should be. So you get below average starting pitchers, and you have, I would say, average lineups. The Red Sox have been this year. The Twins have actually been pretty good, but not as good at home. Xander Bogaerts has tremendous exposure to Bundy, and overall this Red Sox lineup's faced them 155 plate appearances. So you don't get that first inning fresh look vibes that we love when we're betting Nerfies. It's kind of the opposite for Bundy. Bello hasn't faced the Twins yet, so there is a little bit of that on the other end. But again, Bello's a gas can, so I don't feel like that matters as much. And this is a very fair price, -110 over at the Westgate. So you've got below average starting pitchers, average to slightly above average lineups, and a very fair price. And that's where we're going today. Twins, Red Sox, Yurfie over at Target Field later tonight.
We are yinging and yanging it. I'm on an Yurfie, you're on a Yurfie. And those are our Pickswise plays of the day. For Jared Smith, I'm Mark Zinno. Make sure you guys follow us on the Pickswise YouTube channel as well. Download the Pickswise app at the Apple Store and Google Play as well. You guys have a wonderful Monday. Back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern for another edition of Let's Bet It. For today, go get it. Go bet it. Have a great one.